Do you need hope to be a human? I don't know if you exactly do in the way that I'm going to discuss it today. I have a disagreement with Brian Cox, and that might put me in unsafe territory because Brian Cox is brilliant. He's a genius. He knows so much about everything. It seems like quantum mechanics, quantum mechanic theory, quantum computing, everything. He is a very smart person. But this is something I disagree with him about. And this is a conversation that he had with Joe. This was back last October in 2024. So I can already tell the viewpoints of Joe seem to be a little bit different just watching that video compared to where he's at this point. But we're going to get into all of this and discussing what it means to be human and is hope a necessity. My name is Brandon Fogal. This is Evolution. Let's dive into this. So in this sit down that these two men had together, they talked about a number of different things, but where we are going as a human species and with AI on the horizon, it's really not on the horizons now. It's like in our face, we see it, and where we headed, like sky is the limit. But as we get closer and closer to almost maximum human intelligence, knowing everything, if we knew everything, would there be any more reason to get out of bed when you wake up? When Brian starts discussing this, it seems like, and he has in view, and it gets a little bit later into the sit down that he when he's talking about hope, he's talking about, can I look out on the horizon and there's still more to conquer? There's still more to learn. Let's hear what he says when they start touching on this topic. It's very enlightening.
So if you remove that, if you remove any sense of not knowing what the future will be, you do remove hope as well as fear. So you could argue that some of the best, the essence of being human, some of the things that we value the most,
right,
and make us most valuable in the universe in this sense, some of those things come from incomplete knowledge. I mean, surely hope does.
Sure.
How could you have hope and excitement about what's going to happen tomorrow if you know?
But don't you think that
might be
just
a miserable
motivates improvement? That all that hope just motivates you to do better and get better? And don't you think that may be a feature of a biological organism?
It's like you said when you're growing up, you said like when you're in high school or when you're young, Christmas, for example.
Right.
You know, when you Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And you go, what am I going to get tomorrow?
Yeah.
But it's one of the most wonderful feelings, isn't it? One of the most wonderful,
yes.
in the presence of that.
That's incredible.
None of that would exist if you were one of these super beings. So I think that maybe one of those,
but that's just
most
for
vital
us.
components.
It's just for us that it appears magical. When you're comparing that to black holes colliding, like, is it really so important what you got for Christmas? Well, it's
okay. So that right there, I'm going to take it a little different way than Brian is speaking about it. And I'm talking about in hope. I don't think hope is a necessity because I don't believe hope is eternal. And there's a reason because I agree with the Bible. And the Bible does not present that hope and faith are going to last forever. I'm going to read a passage from 1 Corinthians, the Apostle Paul in chapter 13. He says, "For we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when the perfect comes, the partial will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known. So now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love." This is a different interpretation maybe than most people. Most people don't take this from this when they hear that passage. When Paul says, now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love, I would argue that the only thing that is going to last into not the only thing, but one of the things of these three topics is going to last is love. Love is going to, it stretches from before time began and until, the end forever, But faith and hope, we won't need faith in heaven. And we won't need hope in heaven. We won't need to be looking forward to anything in the future because we will have everything we need. But that's not to say that we will know everything. I don't think finite creatures will ever be able to know everything. And when we think about God, this is like on an infinite different level than we are at right now. It's trying to explain something like, think of a small bacterial creature or even an ant, and you are trying to explain to it what the internet is or what an airplane is. And you even got into the ant's language and you started speaking about it. It would have no concept at all of what you are talking about. Even if you were making sense to it in its small, lower understanding and you're clearly communicating, it would still not be able to grasp it. Like talking about an airplane to an ant, he would have no frame of reference to even make sense of what you're speaking of. And take that to a much greater degree with God. If we're talking to God in the future and in heaven, what we can even understand of what it will be like, what existence will be like, it has no comparison really to this life. If we're not going to be able to see what it will be like. We're not going to be able to reach into it in the future right now, like that we have it. That beatific vision of seeing God face to face. And this is what is different, because the Christian operates on faith. And in this, we take the Bible for what it is and we try to extrapolate it as much as we can possible. But it's a different language. It's a heavenly language. But when Brian talks about this, and because it seems like he gets defeated, and I hear this all the time from people that don't believe in heaven or even would want to go there, because it sounds like it would be so boring. I don't know how it's not going to be boring, but it doesn't seem like it is. And if this lower life can have such awesome beauty and grandeur and amazing things that we experience, how much more when we are fully developed, when we are fully who we were made to be, how much more at that time? And just because we won't know anything ever, we won't have the possibility of knowing anything ever, I still think we're going to be learning. This does go against like kind of a little bit what Paul says, we shall know fully even as I have been fully known. I don't think that you can make that say that is omniscience. We will not know everything, but we will know everything possible that we could know as humans. But we're still going to grow in our relationship with God. It's not going to be static. It's not going to be stagnant. It's not going to just sit there and we're just, when's this going to be over? When's this church service going to be over? I'm tired of praising and worshiping God. We have no idea of how awesome God is. You think of the most beautiful, amazing thing in this created realm. I just think of looking at an awesome fire, and it's so fun to look at a fire, a controlled fire and all that, God is a consuming fire. God is, and how much that, but he's also a personal, he doesn't have a form, you could say the Son of God, Jesus has a human form now because he took on humanity, but God, it says he's invisible. He dwells in unapproachable light. We couldn't even gaze at him for more than a second, but it's going to be, I just get fired up when I think of God and that relationship that we are headed to, because it will put all of this here in the best moments in this life. It'll put it to shame. We won't even think about it. It's not to say that we won't have a remembrance of this life. I've heard before that I was overseas at one time, and I remember saying, talking to somebody, and like, how will we not remember what life was like when we're in heaven? How will we not remember what was going on there? And the person told me it would be the same as we're over here in Africa. It would be the same, like, are you thinking about your gas, your car back home having a low gas tank? Your gas in your car is a little bit low. It's close to empty, but it's back in America. You might remember that. It might be something that you could pull from but you're not going to be thinking about it. You're not going to be worried about it. You're in the here and now. You'll have a remembrance of those events taking place. But it's like you got God front and center of you, You are actually living in perfect communion with your Creator. This might sound like all pie in the sky, all nonsense, But it's what's going to unfold, and it's what's going to be the reality that we're all going to eventually experience, you know? It's something that we can take heart in. We don't have to dread going to heaven, because then everything's going to be, we're going to know everything at that point, and man, it's going to be boring. It'll be the opposite of boring. We will know fully. We will know. There's so many things about my life that I already wish I understood fully. Like, why did that have to happen? Why did I have to go through that? And God he's the one orchestrating all the events in your life. The promise is in Christ, he will make everything that's happened to you turn out for your good. Everything. That is a strong promise, but it's an awesome promise, and that it is a reliable promise. It is true. And a lot of these things that we see the here and now. We don't see the future. We don't know what's actually going to, how everything's going to turn out. We have the expectation of it, but we don't know what it's all going to look like. But it's going to exceed even our most hyper best expectations. It's going to be awesome. So this is something I would disagree slightly with Brian, because, and I don't know his full background and like what he believes about God and everything, but in this context of talking about hope, I don't think we necessarily need to have hope to things be amazing, because we won't have hope in heaven. There's not going to be something that we're hoping for anymore, or something that we're just expecting to happen in the future. We will have arrived at that point, you know? But love will exist forever. And that is the amazing gift that we will always have and be able to live in with God in Christ. All right. So if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you smash that like button and button. I'm a little Canadian here. And share it with everyone. Subscribe to this channel. My name is Brandon Fogal. I do this every day at 7 a.m. Central Time. Have a great day, everyone.